Hey everyone, welcome to Heaps Creative, the podcast where we uncover creative archetypes. I'm your host, Tyler Jackson Chappell. In this episode, I sat down with Ailish Ling. Ailish is a South Australian-based artist who specialises in collage and clay and the practice of exploring and merging elements. She's the face behind Haus Collage Stoneware, where she draws inspiration from the surrounding natural landscape as well as human form. In this podcast, we chatted about the experience of being born into a creative family and the impact that had on Ailish, as well as the lessons that come from having a really broad range of creative outlets, including teaching and music. Ailish is also a new parent, so we spoke about the way motherhood has affected her creative life, and believe me when I say there is so much good stuff in here. Enjoy. Ailish Ling, thanks for coming on the Heaps Creative podcast.
Thank you for having me.
First question, Zen Panda.
Yes.
Tell me about Zen Panda.
Zen Panda is a thing of the past, but a brilliant thing of the past. It was a band that formed before I was around, or a band that formed from, I suppose, my brother's high school friends. They used to jam at school, and then had a friend called Sam Lavers who was actually, didn't go to their school but was a good mate from Normanville. And yeah, they formed a band, and then one day they said, Ailish, do you want to play some keys? And I said yes. Played a few shows, had a good couple of years. Live music was very big then, I suppose, right before COVID happened. Yeah, and that's where Zen Panda kind of started. I feel like I maybe just had a bit of a blip in there. I would give more credit to the other musicians. They definitely drove it. And then I was a last minute addition.
But you were a part of the pinnacle.
Yes. Yes, a part of the pinnacle, I think, where we peaked and then fizzled. We supported Red Hot Chili Peppers back in the day for the Clipsal, which was an incredible experience.
I mean, yeah, that's something you can hang your hat on forever.
Yeah, well, I think Mum and Dad were the most proud people we've ever seen. They've got a photo of us on that day on stage that they've blown up and put in the office.
Wow.
Yeah, big fans. But yeah, we kind of did that, and that was incredible. And then after that, played a few shows here and there, and then I think we all just started having kids or focusing on study and building houses, and life kind of, moved in a different direction.
And I think it's funny because that's probably all we're going to talk about, your musical career, and it just speaks to how
career.
broad...
I love that you say career. Very shortly.
It's a career, yeah. But just how broad your kind of creativity spans.
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
My creativity?
Yeah. How did it start?
I
What
think...
was the first expression of it?
First expression, I reckon I was pretty influenced or encouraged by family. Mum being the very creative person that she is, probably gets it from her mum too. But she, as a kid, would always be either sewing her own clothes or, making costumes or any sort of craft activity. And so then for my childhood, she would have a purple shiny box that was always topped up with some sort of craft gear. And when I was a kid, she'd be like, what do you want to do today? And I'd say, oh, well, I want to make something. And she'd whip out this box and go crazy. What do you want to make? And so then there was that creative freedom, and I think that encouragement to make something with my hands and be creative was kind of where it started. And then she shifted into being an art teacher, trained English teacher, but fell into the arts. And then, just incredible role model to have your mum as an art teacher and creative person. Dad being a musician, he plays guitar. I think, a couple of big influences right there.
Very cool, lineage of creatives.
Yeah, nothing forced, but I think just an incredible upbringing of being able to express yourself in different ways, and always paints out, or Play-Doh, or cooking, or music, and all of that kind of adds in, I think, to the creativity that I have now.
And creative siblings as well?
Yeah, very creative. Tom, my oldest brother, he's a photographer, but he always loved the arts, and especially incredibly talented with his writing as well. So he is now a photographer as well as a teacher, but does very well with his photography and definitely has the eye for it. And then Jono, who's 2 years older than me, he's a physio but makes his own music as well. A lot of like digital music with his synths and drum machines, and he's very humble about his, doesn't necessarily let everyone know that that's what he does, but very, very talented. Yeah.
Was there much like jostling for room on the fridge?
I don't think so. I think it was all pretty even. I definitely I would look up to the stuff that Tom would do, and be like, I want to do exactly what he's doing. And I want to, he'd draw or have some sort of style. He went through like a bit of a gothic surf phase, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to start drawing like that. And I think it was all pretty even. Yeah.
And I guess that's a really interesting thought about style. Were you always looking up to them, or did you feel like at a certain point you needed to break away?
I think I often looked up to them through music and fashion and, their tastes and the way they behaved or interacted with people, just because they were really good role models, or they still are. But eventually, yes, I did need to break away. And that maybe wasn't even until I was outside of school, maybe doing my own uni thing, that I realised, whoa, I am my own person and I can have my own style and taste, but still be influenced, I think, by people that you look up to. But yeah, start to form your own little style and aesthetic. Yeah.
Did you always know you wanted to be a creative?
Nah. Yeah, I'd say I would. But the perspective of my parents was pretty influential as to what I then did at uni after school. Loved art all throughout school, did it through to year 12, sat down at the table with them and said, I want to be an artist. This is what I'm going to do after year 12. And they said, look, that's fantastic, but you might actually need to earn some cash. So maybe, and this is very fair enough, but maybe back it up with something like teaching so that you can do arts and teaching. And so that's how I became an art teacher. And then that kind of funded my expensive hobby of pottery. And I've fallen into a really nice place, I think.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask how your parents reacted, because I feel like I was listening to a interview with a musician and he was talking about all of his siblings are super creative and their parents would take him to the theatre instead of sports games and stuff. And then when they all told him that they wanted to be artists, the parents are like, are you sure?
Yeah, they're like, what?
Yeah, you've been breeding me for this, or steering me towards this forever, and then when it's finally time to make the decisions.
Yeah, and I think they only have the best intentions for you, and I'm really happy with the support that they gave me to end up where I am, because now I have that beautiful ability to teach others about art, and that's such a passion of mine. So to teach that to kids, I think that's exactly where I need to be.
I really want to talk about that balance a bit later, but you mentioned your expensive ceramics habit.
Yes. Yep.
The kind of two mediums you find yourself in most now are ceramics and collage.
Yeah.
Correct? How did you come to those?
How did I come to those? Collage, I think, came from a place of, I love collecting memories in that hard sort of scrapbooking form, whether it's a business card from an incredible restaurant that you had a delicious meal at, or a receipt from, I don't know, a shop that you loved in Japan or something like that. I love collecting those sentimental pieces. And I also love the idea of looking through books and the freedom it gives you to cut and paste and recreate. I think that's where that kind of came from. And in terms of pottery, that was just I fell into it, did it a bit at school, but was never something that I was like, yes, this is for me. I lived in Aldinga back when I was maybe 19, I reckon, with a couple of mates. And they said, hey, we're going to a Aldinga community centre to do a pottery workshop. I said, sick, I'll come. It was just a volunteer-based one. And I went to that, and then it was duck to water. I was like, this is using my hands, having this tactile, quite expressive and beautiful medium to work with. I just thought that's what I want to do. And then it flew from there. Bought a bag of clay, started making things, continued with that workshop at Aldinga, and then, snowballed.
Here we are.
here we are.
Is the creative process or how you feel in it different between collage and ceramics?
I think collage is probably something that I do for myself, like something that's like almost like meditation. I mean, clay can be that too, but I'm not necessarily like collage is something I want everyone to see or I want to present to the world. It's this personal little moment in the office that I might get with my collection of books, or a Saturday that I get to cruise to op shops and look at the books that they've got there. Whereas collage is something that I want to share a lot more with people, because I feel like the process of making a sculpture or using my hands to make this clay pieces, I want other people to experience it a bit more than maybe collage, if that makes sense.
Yeah. How precious are you with what goes into a collage? Like, are you happy to take like a really special thing that you've collected to make something else, or is there certain things that it's like, no, this needs to stay like quote unquote whole? Or
I'm pretty savage and will just cut, paste, stick, but if there's a piece that I don't know how to use it and I think I really love this and I need to wait and be very patient until I find the place that it needs to be put, I'll just sit on it for ages. I have pieces that I've collected and just haven't found the right, partners to go with it yet. So I suppose yes and no. I am precious. But
how many boxes of collage ready gear do you have?
In this room that we're sitting in right now, just those boxes down there are just filled with, there's 3 shoe boxes.
That's really not that
it's not
space
that much.
Consuming.
No, but
not compared to pottery.
No, not compared to pottery, and that's hence why sometimes doing collage, especially at the moment, is just so much easier to set it up, cut some things out, and then leave it. You don't have to wait for things to dry as much. But yeah, the 2 very different mediums, but at the moment probably leaning more towards pottery as something that I want to invest my heart and soul into. Yeah.
Does the idea come first or the medium? Like, if you know you're going to be working in clay, is it like a kind of different thought process, or do you just get a creative idea and it's like, oh, this has to be expressed through this?
I think both. I think I have a lot of time to dream at the moment and think and read and listen to podcasts and get ideas. But then also yesterday I just went to the studio with no idea and said, today this is a tactile moment for me. I'm just going to start and see where it takes me. And that was more of a, not for anyone, but selfishly, just a couple of hours for me to be a kid and play and explore and experiment. So it just depends on my mindset, I think.
And where does the inspiration come from? Does it come from that just time to dream or whatever you're kind of consuming?
Inspiration definitely comes heavily from, I think at the moment, nature or shapes or forms that I see in nature. I love the idea of, bringing elements of the outside in, and pottery can become obviously something that takes up a domesticated space. And then I love the idea of taking something from nature, recreating it and bringing it in so you have that element inside from out. Yeah. So that's, And my first ever solo exhibition that I did, and my only one at the moment, was based on just one of my rock collections that I had. So that was the inspiration for that. I love the shapes, especially from rocks washed by the tide, and they get those hollow forms and the rounded edges and tell almost like a bit of a story. And yeah.
And do you when you see something you really like, do you sketch it down, do you take a photo, or is it just mental picture?
Both. Sometimes I love to take a photo, so then I have the exact thing that I can sit there and reference. Other times I like to sketch because that's an opportunity to blend a few different things into one. Other times I go, okay, I saw this thing once and I'm going to not look at it, but try and see what my brain can interpret that as. So yeah, but I do love taking photos. I think that, and I've got lots of photos from East Coast trips, or I think that's a good way to kind of document some of those experiences you've had in life too. Take the photos and recreate them in clay. Yeah.
I think those are both really interesting ways to kind of go about references. One is very exact and one is very coloured by however you're feeling. And
yeah, in saying that though, my pieces are very interpretive of the photo. It's never very, very, very precise. Yeah. And that's the way I like it to be.
What about collage? Where do the ideas come from with that?
I never ever start with an idea and go, I want to make this. It's always, I have a collection of, what have we got on the wall there? Moscow, you've got Rome, Paris, Jerusalem, Hong Kong, Tokyo books that I just open up and I might see a colour, a shape, an image, and I start to cut and then keep flicking through. It can take, hours to flick through and find 5 images, but it's almost the chase that I love, the chase to find that rearrangement of images.
And you have like a very distinctive style with your ceramics. Do you have the same thing with collage?
Yeah, I think I love the sort of clean cut, blending in. You can't really tell what's cut out, what's not, because I obviously go the old school stick and paste rather than that digital world of collage, which I'd love to explore one day, but for now I've got cut and paste. I love the clean cut. Can't really tell what's there before or what's been added in, rather than that layering of just sporadic, almost scrapbooky style. Both are great, but for me it's the clean cut.
And you mentioned you haven't actually been doing ceramics for that long. Do you feel more or less comfortable in one of the other mediums?
I feel so comfortable in ceramics.
Right.
I think, but it's a world that once you start, there's so much to learn. It's just like, it's overwhelming. I feel like I've only just scraped the surface of it, and I feel still like a bit of an emerging amateur artist in the ceramic world. But
it's like there's 2 completely different like routes to go down. You've got the making and like the form and like, I don't want to say the art side of it, but for lack of a better word, and then you've got the technical, like basically you have to learn chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. So like the glazes is a whole world that I would love to explore, but for now I just use like the pre-mixed ones. It's like, don't tell anyone.
That is beautiful pre-mixed ones. And again, that's like again just a focus on a different side of it.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I found a clay that I love at the moment, but I know there's so many out there to try, and the reaction they have with glazes and gas firing and reduction firing and raku firing, like it goes on and on and on.
Do you fire them the same way every time?
Yeah, I feel like I've got somewhere where I'm comfortable with what I know and I'm happy with the results I'm getting, but I also feel like it's dangerous to be comfortable. So I would like to start to explore a few different things. Just firing in your own kiln with, experiments is a bit risky because it can melt or explode or
Have you had that happen?
I have. My first ever firing I did on my own. I opened up the kiln, had a look at it, and the whole piece had just melted straight onto the kiln shelf with the glaze. A very humbling moment. Went straight to Jerry Wedd and said, what do I do? What have I done wrong?
You mentioned patience before when it comes to collage. I feel like patience is just, if not maybe more important, in ceramic art.
Yeah, absolutely. Patience in ceramic art is everything. It's not a process that you can rush, and if you do, you'll find out.
And like a level of non-attachment at like every step.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've got the making stage, and that's the stage that I find I often fall in love with the piece that I'm making, but you need to not, hold on to it too hard, because then you've got the drying phase and they can crack, and then you've got the firing phase and they can, explode. And then you've got the glazing, and that might then get fired and come out a completely different colour to what you aimed for. So, yeah, got to be patient and also not be too attached. And not be a perfectionist like I am, because that can be pretty detrimental.
You mentioned Jerry before. Has he been a big part of your journey? Yeah,
he's been, I maybe loosely use the word mentor, but at the start he was very much wanting to pass on knowledge, lent me books, and I just had so many questions like you do when you first dive into pottery. And he helped fire a few of my pieces before I bought a kiln, and he's been like a big kind of mentor / role model, I think, too, in the pottery world. He's kind of a big deal down here. So but he's absolutely nailed his style and his art form.
He's got it dialed.
Pottery god there.
But I think mentorship is something I've spoken to everyone that I've interviewed about, and I think it's a really important and interesting kind of aspect of any creative journey. Besides Jerry, is there anyone that stands out for you that's kind of had an oversized impact?
I think a lot of it's been self-taught, but there's so much mentorship that happens through just conversations with other artists, I think, as well, talking about their journey or their experiences that they've had through the art world. So it doesn't necessarily have to be pottery, but just everyone that I've spoken to about their creative space, and that's been really helpful. I can't think of any names at the moment. One person that's been incredibly encouraging is John. That's my partner, my husband, John. He actually did a job for someone up in Adelaide. He's an electrician, and he saw a Jerry Wed poster and was like, "Oh, my wife's just started doing some pottery. That's awesome that you've got a Jerry Wed poster." They said, "Oh, we're getting rid of a kiln. Do you want to take one?" And this was like a tiny little, like a pretty rubbish kiln. But he took it and he said, "I'm going to wire this up for you, and you need to start actually firing your own pieces." And so as soon as he saw that I fell in love with this medium, he just went, "I'm going to be your biggest support, and I'm going to encourage you through this creative journey." So he's been really, really helpful.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
you
still
need,
is.
You need those people.
Yeah, currently trying his best between, looking after the babe to build a kiln shed for me at the front there, a new studio. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Because you've got off-site studio right now.
Yep, off-site studio, just hand building. No wheel throwing at the moment, but hand building's my passion. So working on a studio here, but got to work with what you've got.
Did you do much stuff on a wheel?
I didn't venture too far past mugs.
Right.
Yeah, that was like about as far as I got. And I liked it. I wasn't great at it. And I just think hand building is just such is the word meditative process as you go and that maybe more slowed down process I like. Yeah. Especially
that idea of like capturing like parts of nature, I think.
Yeah.
That's for somebody who knows what they're doing. Maybe somebody like Jerry, like achievable on a wheel, but I think it already being forced into like a symmetrical form kind of takes away that. Yeah,
it's rare to find something completely symmetrical and like that on the wheel in nature. So I think that's why hand building's for me.
Now, you're a new mum, which congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How has becoming a mum and parenting and going through all of the craziness of a newborn and then a little person, how has that changed your experience and your practice and your relationship with creativity in general?
It's been really hard, actually. I found it like one of the most challenging things to grapple with, becoming a mum and being so fortunate to be a mum, and then trying to fit in your other baby, which is your love for your art, and then feeling like you've almost lost it, I think, a bit there. I found it quite a challenge to keep the motivation and inspiration up when I felt like I had nothing in my cup to give to that creative side, because I was looking after a tiny human. So what is he? He's 9 months old now. And I only just now feel like, I can actually dream and start to get back into that creative side, because I feel like I've got a bit more time. But yeah, I found it really hard. Thought I lost it. Kind of almost was like, John, I don't think I'm going to be a ceramic artist anymore, because I don't have time and I'm not motivated and everyone else is doing it better than I am, and I think I'm just going to focus on being a mum. So yeah, it was really hard. And I think you also, as a mum, you have the guilt, because you think, I should be doing everything for this tiny human. For me to step away and go to the studio for a couple of hours, you feel guilty, or I should be doing the washing, or I should be mopping the floors or cleaning up after Milan. And so your time is just, there's not much of it. So I found that, that was a big challenge. Still working through that, I think. And that's something that no one said to me beforehand. No one said that your creativity or your passion for it might be zapped. So when I felt like that, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done?
And I think that's the importance of having like a supportive partner. And I think when I became a parent, I think you just kind of touched on it, is this idea of where is your time and like where is it best served? Like for me, whenever I was taking time away from my daughter to do something creative, I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be spending time with her. And then when I was spending time with her, in the back of my mind, it was like, oh, like this is actually the closest thing I have to free time, I should be doing something creative.
Yeah, you've got this itch to be everywhere but nowhere at the same time.
Yeah, and you kind of feel, you mentioned the word guilt, like you kind of feel this everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's a really challenging thing to navigate.
Yeah, it is really hard. But in saying that, I also now feel this like bubbling, surging, new perspective shift in my practice that I think I just needed time to work out, you know, motherhood and creativity and just living in a new stage of life, to have this new perspective coming through, which I'm really excited for, just to see a shift in my work, because I obviously am not the same person that I was before Milan, so my work isn't going to look the same, and I think I'm leaning into that change now, being like, okay, this is fresh, what have we got, what can I bring to the table, and produce new work.
Yeah, being aware of that is so cool. And I think, like you spoke about in the beginning, coming from a really creative family, like you've seen what creative parents look like and the awesome impact that can have on a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think now I've got the view of, well, if I was just to throw it to the side, I'm not that selfish of me, because I want Milan to see the creativity in the world of it, and for him to grow up in a household that lives and breathes that, because I think it's so important. Yeah. So it's not just me I'm thinking about anymore. It's this tiny human.
That's such a good outlook on it.
Yeah, thanks.
Doing
my best.
Has he got the Play-Doh out yet, and you can kind of hand build together?
I wish, but I think he'd just eat it at the moment.
That lasts a while.
Yeah, okay.
No, that's so cool. And obviously, like, this balance of trying to do it all, and like even prior to having a kid, is you were balancing teaching and art.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Well, that was also really hard, but I had that freedom on weekends or after school to go and jump into that creative space. But teaching 5 days a week was pretty draining, but teaching art to kids is also like a very enriching place to be. So I found the balance really hard, and I also found that I was time poor then, but I didn't know I was, compared to now. Like, I feel really silly for saying that, because I had so much free time then, but at the time I was like, I don't have enough days in the weekend. So the balance was really tricky back then, and the balance is really tricky now. But I think that I'm hoping if I ever go back to work, it won't be full time, and there'll be a beautiful 2 days at school and then a couple of days in the studio. We'll see. That's the dream.
How do you think working like a job in the arts, but like maybe parallel to being a full-time maker, how do you think that actually influenced your work?
Apart from like, I was going to say financially, it funded like my expensive hobby of pottery. But I think when you're teaching art or you're involved in that kind of world, you see quite fresh perspectives from the students too, and as much as they're learning from me, I think I'm learning from them, which is a really beautiful transaction at school. So I think they very much influenced my practice, just more in making mistakes or just learning to play, or, you know, there's a skill you want to learn, or in pottery, go and do that, and don't be afraid to get it perfect, because I am someone that loves to get things right the first time. But you see kids make mistakes all the time, and you're always talking to them saying, that's how we learn, like why are you so scared of making mistakes? And then
You've got to take your own advice.
I've got to take my own advice and be like, come on, like just play and experiment and be vulnerable, because art is such a vulnerable thing. So I took that away from the kids, definitely. I think they taught me a bit about that. So
yeah,
does that answer your question? Or
yeah, no, that's great. I think it's really interesting. I think the idea of like hearing artists talk, a lot of the time there's this idea that they're full-time artists and that's all they do. And I think the large majority of people that have creative careers aren't full-time artists.
No.
They do other things.
And I remember having that same conversation with Jerry Wedd. He just said that he's so fortunate to have a job that is being a full-time artist, but so many of his art mates back it up with some sort of part-time job, which is, I was doing that, but with a full-time job, and then pottery where I could. So I think one day the dream would be possibly to do art full-time, but at the moment I think it's important to hold on to teaching for me.
Is that something you would want to do eventually, is full-time artist?
I'd give it a red hot crack, I reckon. I'd give it a try, but part of my heart, I think, is dedicated to teaching. Yeah, even with pottery and doing workshops, teaching that to people, I feel comes very naturally to me. And I love the space of a school. I think it's somewhere where I can be quite positively influential to the kids. It gives me a lot of drive as well. So I don't know if I'd go completely full-time artist unless, I don't know, that was the direction I was pushed into, and then maybe I might give it a shot. So
yeah, great.
Yeah.
Did you do much pottery with the kids at school?
Yeah. I was like, I'd push it so much. Kids would be like, oh, pottery again, Miss Ling. But yeah, we did heaps. Yeah, very fortunate to have a kiln and everything set up there. So, and I was one of the only crew, or maybe two of us that knew how to use it. So yeah, we did it a lot in my class, yeah.
Do you think there are many other pros and cons, kind of besides what you've mentioned, to having that job alongside an arts career?
I think it just, like, teaching sucks up a lot of your time. And I think any other teachers listening to this will be like, it does, the marking, the...
You had time to do pottery on the side?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it sucks up so much of your time and energy. So that's probably a con, I reckon. But if you can have that balance of part-time, do that. Yeah,
great.
Full-time.
That's
full-time's
advice.
a lot. Yeah, go part-time.
Yeah.
Never work full-time.
Now, I read that in 2021, you sent work to Milan.
Yeah, I did.
For the 1000 Vases exhibition?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I remember getting the email being like, your work has been accepted. Was absolutely blown away.
Did you reach out, or did they just...
Yeah, reached out and did like an application form. Just, I think back then I wanted to try a few of those things just to get a feel for it. Never thought I'd get into it, and I did. It is one of the most expensive things I have ever paid to be involved in. It was just getting the stuff shipped over there was such a shambles. Got stuck in customs. I had to pay to get it out, and I had never shipped stuff overseas, let alone interstate or anywhere in Australia. So of that size. So yeah, it was a huge learning curve.
Yeah, I was going to say learning experience.
Yeah, such a privilege to be a part of it. I just sent over 3 pieces, and they didn't sell, but I brought them back and sold them back here, and I think I kept one because it was quite a sentimental experience. But yeah, shipped them across. Didn't get to go to the opening because I think that was during COVID. Was that during COVID? Yeah, 2021. So I got an invite to go, but didn't get to fly across.
That's still very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And what has been your experience working with galleries and different exhibitions?
Pretty minimal. I've had like that solo show a couple of years ago, lots of group shows and other people kind of curating those group shows and me just falling into it. I feel like I haven't been really forward and driven and putting myself out there and contacting galleries or curating my own exhibitions, things like that. I've just kind of, things have fallen into my lap, and I've been really passive about it, but very lucky in that sense to have those opportunities to exhibit with other people. But I think in this new drive and this next stage of feeling my work shift, I really would love to start to put myself out there and approach galleries and work towards another solo exhibition maybe. Yeah.
I mean, you say passive, but also like for anyone on the Fleurieu, or if you've even like been down here, you've probably seen your work somewhere, like at so many different places. And I think that might just speak to like the idea of creative community and I think your broad reaching kind of creative tentacles and knowing so many people and having quality work and then wanting you to be a part of things. So I don't know if I don't think you should sell yourself short as like passive.
Yeah, maybe just not heaps forthcoming.
Yeah.
And, but I think also down here on the South Coast, incredibly lucky if you can tap into that creative community. You see that support, or you see those people go, hey, let's do this show here because there's a wicked venue and I know all these artists that I want to get together and put on shows. So it's an incredible community to be a part of, and I just was lucky enough to tap into that a little bit earlier. So yeah.
Do you have any advice for somebody who wants to do that wherever they are? Like obviously you might have specific advice for down here, but and obviously I think growing up here helps, but yeah, any advice you have to creating or breaking into a creative community?
I think you need to be vulnerable with your work and do what I didn't do and put yourself out there or approach people to even have conversations about art, and that art community is going to be those links to, you know, showing your work or at least visiting a gallery to see somebody else's work. So I think, yeah, immersing yourself in that world, and if someone says, hey, what do you do? I'm an artist, you know, like open up that conversation because people want to hear about your work. So I think, yeah, that would be my advice.
I think speaking into existence is a really big thing as well. Do you think having that support from such a young age and like knowing in yourself you wanted to be an artist from such a young age allowed you to come forward with I'm an artist?
I think so. That, like, to say those words, I'm an artist, took me so long to do because I felt like a bit of a fraud because I was like, well, I'm a teacher actually, and then I do art on the side as a hobby, and I didn't feel like I owned those words of I'm an artist. So I found that really hard to say out loud. But when, I think it might have even been Mickey Mason that I spoke to, who was a painter from down here, he said, no, you need to talk about yourself as an artist because you're producing these works, you are the artist. And it was, you know, someone like that, who I also look up to, has that belief in you. It's like, oh yeah, I can then say that I am an artist and start to believe it into actually being a thing.
So that was the point, just a conversation. It wasn't anything to do with your actual work.
I think it was a conversation because otherwise I would have maybe gone through just thinking, oh, this is just something I make, but I'm a teacher. But to have that belief, that conversation and that belief was like, okay, just like maybe a perspective shift. I think I needed. Yeah. Was
there a noticeable outward shift when that happened?
I think that's when a lot more maybe confidence came through to my work or to talking about it, or that wanting to push it a bit more rather than just being like, oh, it's something I do on a Saturday. It's like, okay,
yeah, I'll do a group show.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I'll do a group show. I wanted to move more into that space, and so that I'm a teacher versus I'm an artist started to balance out a little bit more. Does that?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Make sense?
Do you think going forward that's the opener? So it's on the business card?
Yes, I would like to say yes. I think so. I really feel a push to go forwards with my art at the moment. Like it takes up a lot of my brain space. I want it to grow and I want to learn and I want to be more vulnerable with it, and I think be proud of it too. I think there's like dips in how I feel about it, and that imposter syndrome just slips on in, and I want to start to push that to the side and be like, no, this is what I do. This is what I love. Here's a piece of me. Yeah.
I think that's really important to talk about because I think most people have that.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is real.
Especially creatives.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we don't always talk about because you want to have that exterior look of the artist or, you know, who you want to be, and then those thoughts that you have in your head, sometimes they make you feel crazy because it's like you're telling yourself you know, people have done this before or they've seen this somewhere else or everyone's creating what you're creating, and yeah, it's a hard space to be in.
And it's funny, I think you have that kind of external validation, which like obviously people respond really well to your work and love it. And I think it's one of those things you would think that would get rid of that little voice,
Yeah,
but if anything, it might add to it in some ways.
Yeah, it does. Or like if, you know, I had some stuff in a store for a while and they just didn't sell for whatever reason, you know, fuel prices are huge, so why is someone going to go spend that amount of money on a vase? But when they don't sell, that's when I start to go like, oh, they didn't sell because, you know, my momentum's lost and people don't like my work and, you know, these pieces aren't as good as they used to be, or like, yeah, those voices come back. But if you do sell a piece, it's like you get a little, oh, it's okay, I've got this. So it like fluctuates all the time.
It's such an interesting, yeah.
And then I suppose, like we said before, have you been involved in any galleries? Or no, not really, but if I do put myself out there and say, hey, this is my work, I'd love to display or work with you, that fear of rejection of them being like, no, we don't want to, then those imposter syndrome thoughts come back. Like, yeah.
When it could be a million different reasons.
Exactly.
They've just had 8 pottery shows in a row and they don't want to do another one.
So I need to probably push past that and be vulnerable and accept rejection as part of my growth.
There you go, that's on the list. And you kind of mentioned like exploring new kind of avenues, and you spoke about the glaze before, but when we were speaking prior to this, you also mentioned raw clay.
Yeah, so we live currently on a block out at an air park, which is just so rich with clay in the soil. We dug up some holes the other day just where the deck's going to go, and beneath was just this most incredible thick rich clay that I would love to work with one day. We even got a bit and rolled it into a baby snake to check if you could use it to make forms, and you can. And
yeah, great.
Yeah, so learning the whole filtering process and firing our own clay and everything here is something that is definitely on the cards.
And is the reason you want to do that kind of a continuation of that exploration into connecting with nature and place?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. And I love the idea of the start to finish product literally coming from the earth, and I've dug it or I've filtered it right through to making my own glazes and firing everything myself. So it is that full process from start to finish made by the artist or me. Yeah.
You'll definitely need a studio.
Yeah, exactly. So chop on the shed. Yeah.
Have you worked with raw clay before?
I haven't, no, but I see it out there every day, and I go, go on, Ailish, collect some. I've just, at the moment, again, comfortable with the clays I'm using at the moment because I know them and how they work and how they fire. So I need to get uncomfortable, dig up some clay and start to experiment. I have made little pinch pots with it out the front. I just haven't fired it. They've just sat there and then gone back into the earth. So
that's a good thing about clay, though.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that's on the cards for when I have time.
Great. And you mentioned also kind of joining your two passions together and having collage and clay.
Yes.
What does that look like?
Oh, well, because I am so time poor at the moment, I've started cutting out stencils and, working with stencils on fabric or putting stencils on top of collage, so like a mixed media. And then that organically, those stencils then fell into the studio, and I started cutting out that sort of collage style stencils and blending that into some of my pottery at the moment. So that's just where it started, but I love the idea of collage and clay colliding in some style. At the moment, tiles is what I'm a bit obsessed with.
Yeah, right.
And that idea of collage of colour with tiles, whether that's for an artwork to hang on the wall or actually, because we've built this place, it's kind of like one big canvas. So I said to John, I was like, I'm going to start tiling door frames, or I want to start, collaging with clay on the walls. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that sounds very cool.
I have a vision in my head, and I think saying it out loud, you're probably like, I don't see it. But yeah.
As long as you see it.
I see it.
No, that sounds very,
it.
very cool. No, can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, it could work or it could be a flop, but we'll give it a red hot crack.
Gotta try it.
Yeah.
Do you have any pieces of advice for emerging any kind of creatives?
Emerging. I feel like I am still emerging.
More emerging.
More emerging. I think try and stick to being really authentic in your practice if you can, and don't be afraid to experiment and try and find your style and kind of ebb and flow. I think that's one thing I've focused on heaps at the moment. It's like, what is my style? What do I do? But it doesn't have to be a fixed style at the moment. So moving between phases of your art style and experimenting, and I think just being authentic to how you feel when you're creating is what's going to come out in the work, and that's what hopefully people will resonate with.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's great. And your especially ceramic work has a very distinct style, which is I think such a hard thing. And I know you're describing yourself as still emerging, but I think for a lot of artists it's a hard thing to find, especially if you haven't been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah, and I think also I've been thinking a lot about it lately, maybe because I've been sucked into the vortex, but there's so much, because of the internet, so much access to everything that everyone else is doing, and so you can get lost in all the people that are making mugs, or all the people that are doing this style painting or this style artwork, and then you start to lose your authenticity or like what you were dreaming of or motivated by, and I think sometimes letting that rest and just trying to be authentic to yourself, that's where the beauty is going to come from. I've been grappling with the social media world and just seeing everyone else's work.
It's such a hard one because you feel like as somebody, especially who makes something visual, you want to put it out there, you want people to see it. So you're like engaging with these things. And then you can also, on one hand, like find really inspiring work.
And you can find heaps of inspiration from it too. But I found myself falling into this like a heap of, oh, they've already done it, or, you know, that person's a bit better than me, or I want to take a bit of their work and a bit of theirs. And I'd prefer to have my own headspace where I'm being authentic to what I feel like making, or, you know, put the phone down and go for a walk and find inspiration there. I think that's going to make me more authentic with my work. So that's maybe my advice. That was a lot.
No, that's so good. That's great. What about for mums? What about, I mean, you can just give parenting advice in general, but also like
the first time mum, I've got no advice.
But also what you said earlier about nobody told you that you might have just that zap of creative energy, and that's okay, and that's part of it.
Yeah, well, actually, someone did say to me, first 3 months of being a mum, you're going to get heaps of ceramic work done. I felt really let down by that comment. So I was like, how? They must have been a wizard at, you know, managing both art life and mum life. But I couldn't do that. And so I think it was a full moment of surrender to the time that you're in. And it was almost just like a dream phase of, I can't actually get to the studio, or I might get half an hour in there and be very unproductive and I just cleaned, but allow being a first time mum to be a dream phase as well, whether that's picking up an art book, listening to a podcast, going for a walk, collecting rocks, or taking a moment to sketch like that. For me, accepting that that's what I'm doing has been fuel for where I'm getting to now, I think, is just I'm a mum and I can get lots of inspiration from the things around me. I don't have to be in the studio, but just dream and think, and kind of builds up inside you now. I've got all this drive to be like, what's new? What have I got? Yeah.
I mean, once your son's a little bit older, the rock collecting will go crazy.
Oh yeah, he's going to be my little apprentice. And he'll be collecting all of my things to take to the studio. No, but also I think, like seeing Milan as well, you can, like my son, you can get so much inspiration from those little people. They see things so differently, and it almost is like that, from watching him play, has almost given me permission to go back to that childlike play and be like, just play in the studio, just, you know, explore and be a kid again. Yeah, it doesn't have to come out perfect every time, and you don't have to make something that someone else is going to see. You could do it purely for yourself and just play, and different perspective.
I think even just getting down their level all the time and sitting on the ground and laying on on your belly and stuff, you kind of just see everything from a different perspective.
Yeah, so true. Like, it's pretty cool to see how much you change during that period of motherhood. And hopefully that's reflected in some of the stuff I make in the future. Yeah,
awesome. Perfect world. What does your creative life look like in 5 years?
Ooh. In 5 years, I'm going to have my dream studio.
John?
I hope John listens to this. We've got a time frame now. In 5 years, I think I'd love to have a teaching art balance. There you go. Teaching's still going to be in there. And I would love to hopefully have maybe figured out a bit more of a solid style. I think I'm still up in the air about that. I feel a little bit, I look at some of my old content or old works and I go, I don't see myself in that anymore. So I've got to kind of shift it and find myself again. And I think possibly, well, I don't know if I knew how to answer this question.
That's great.
A studio and a new style.
Yeah, awesome.
And I'm hopefully still enjoying it. Like I just want to be at peace with it and not be grappling so much between those like insecurities, but more confident in what I'm doing, because I think with that comes a lot of hopefully connection, and people can then start to get on board.
I think that's the hard thing about being broadly creative. Is there's so many times like, oh, I could just go over here and do this, or I could go over here and do this.
Oh, I'm doing collage again, or oh, I'm doing fabric printing, or yeah. I think I really want to hone into pottery, and like I said at the start, such a big world, such a big kind of space to explore with all the different elements of pottery. So maybe start to hone in on a few different things.
Geek out about.
Yeah, geek out, absolutely. Upskill. I want to upskill. Yeah.
Great. Do you have any one single project that you're most proud of besides Milan?
Oh, he is my best project yet. But one single project that I'm most proud of, I think probably it would have been my solo show that I did called the Rock Collection back in the day at the Spray Room, because that was a vulnerable moment. That was maybe like the first step to being put out there as myself, and I was really proud of the work that I did. I was proud of myself for putting that on. That was probably a really big moment. Something I'm really proud of. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Is
there anything else you want to
add? No, I don't think so.
Any sage wisdom?
Nothing's coming to me. Maybe it's baby brain. Maybe it's the shot of tequila I had before. I don't know. No more advice from me. Otherwise I'll lead people down the wrong path.
Where can people go to find your work?
My website's a bit shonky, so maybe Instagram page is the best place to go at the moment. Yeah.
I'll add all the links to
Haus Collage Stoneware, that's where she's at.
Great.
Might change to Haus Stoneware soon and cut out the collage, but yeah, we'll see.
Awesome. Ailish, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you for having me.
It's been so much fun.
It has been. I hope it made sense.
It all made sense. Thank you so much for listening along and supporting the show. This episode was recorded on Ngarrindjeri land on the Fleurieu Peninsula. If you want to follow along on Instagram, just head to heaps_creative_pod. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.